a sleeve of chocolate chip cookies. I will not be drinking celery juice this evening. Try to do something to honor your time, to honor your space, and to literally transform it for you. That's what's important. Okay, I think I made my point. Okay. So tonight is the last class of 5 weeks for some, 15 weeks for others, if you've been in all three parts of the great ideas of Buddhism. We are in the last 3 courses of 18 courses of an entire monastic curriculum that covers all of the major texts and some instruction that is given separately but popularly to monks and nuns who are in training. And so some of you are at that point where you finished 15 full courses and now you're doing these 3 review courses. That's a pretty big deal. So that's pretty cool. And tonight, to me, is probably the most important teaching that I could ever give you. It's the essence of the essence of the essence of everything that we do. It is like the most distilled, like when you, Christine will know about this, and I think I'm right. When you do herbalism stuff and you make like a tincture, you actually like put less and less and less of each thing, and it makes it stronger. I think I'm right when I say this, I could be wrong. But you get to this point where it's like the tiniest drop is like the most potent thing that you could ever put inside you, put inside your mind. And it's true of this particular teaching that when you really understand the emptiness thing, that is what turns the engine on, not just for Buddhist practice, but for any practice. You can start to understand how and why literally anything, any ritual, it's like someone will tell you, oh, here, this thing you haven't heard of, it's like this, da da da, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I could really see how that's a path. And not only that, but you'll understand why Buddhism is working or not working for you. These teachings are not the answer. Sorry, there's no freedom stuck inside the words that I'm saying. There's no freedom in these courses. Plenty of people have done these courses and said, okay, thank you, I mean, who knows what was going on in their mind, right? We learned not to judge other people. But there are plenty of minds that come to Buddhism and study Buddhism, and they still suffer, and they still die. So it's not about putting a philosophy check mark. It's about understanding how to utilize it. And just like you need to understand gravity and physics to fly a plane, the emptiness thing, this is the key to everything else. So we'll cover that tonight. It's not just about creating a good life. It's not just about, oh, I can do a practice and then I'll feel good for 5 minutes, then it will get destroyed again. It's not like that. It's not like go to yoga class, breathe weird, feel like shit 20 minutes later. That's not what is happening. If we're taking these classes to heart, that's not what will happen. It will destroy every pain you've ever had, and every pain that's waiting for you, that's right around the corner. You know, how many of you have ever had surprising news and it's like you just got punched in the gut? Like, I'm talking about like big shit. Oh, what do I do now? My world just changed. That thing that's lurking around the corner for everybody, doesn't matter who you are, it's waiting for you. This destroys that. And whatever pain brought you to these teachings. I mean, there's very few people. It's probably only Anthony, but maybe there's a couple other people. Anthony's just like, if you get to know him, you know, many of us get to know each other. It's not just that there's like 3 or 4 people that all know each other. It's like in studying these courses, you get to know each other, and you get to like see each other's demons self-existently. And, you know, Anthony's like the only person I know that was like, oh, I was just interested, you know, like the stuff was just really interesting and attractive to me. And like every other person, because his karma is really good, you know. So if you have that, then that's really good for you. But almost everyone else I know, myself included, was kind of like dragged here by their own like horrible pain. And like the drugs didn't work, you guys. You know, like they didn't. Fuck. Now what? Buddhism? Okay, I'll try it. We'll talk more about that. But we're going to start with the breakout rooms where, again, the TAs, the people who've been studying this stuff for a while, they're going to review some of the core concepts from last time. I know that last week was like weird and a little difficult. So we'll review it a little bit in the course of this class. But really what you're going to walk away with is something, you're going to walk away with like this mandala of teachings that you can keep in your pocket. But for now, we're going to break up into groups and we'll review like what's the core takeaway from last class. And the cool thing about this, I know there's a tendency to be like, oh, breakout rooms. I don't really want to like sit and talk with people I don't know. I don't know. If you're like me, you know, I'm not an extrovert. The takeaway from this, you'll be able to meet another Buddhist teaching or teacher and like sort of understand how it will fall into your worldview and why it functions perfectly for you. Like the takeaway from that class, and we'll do a little bit tonight, the point of it, even though I'll be saying our way is the best way, the point of everything that we're learning is that every single teaching that's ever uttered by an animal, a human, a god, or a Buddha becomes the perfect teaching for you, really, not pretending, not delusional, because of the practice that we learned last class. And so that's what we're going to talk about and try, hopefully, internalize. Hopefully we can put it, you know, inside, hold it. So I'm going to break you into groups. We'll do about 20 minutes, then we'll come back and do 6 flavors of emptiness. Yes, that is what we will do. So if you're teaching, please don't accept your invite quite yet. I need to sort you. And then if you are not, go ahead and accept it.
Rachel, to confirm, we're doing those 2 questions from class 9's homework, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, room 4. Okay, hold on one sec.
My fingers are crossed that I'm with someone else who's really good at this because I'm only a little familiar with the answer. So
You don't know if you're not ready to teach, and if you're not ready to teach, just accept the invite. Like if you can't teach to this particular thing, just accept the invite. So I know how to disperse those who will be teaching.
I can if I need to be, for sure, but I'd rather be with someone more.
No, there's enough. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Can we know what the questions are? I know that there were questions 11 and 7, but
Here, I can say them as Rachel sorts people into groups. So Danielle, the first one was basically like, why do we bother talking about literal versus figurative? What's the teaching there? Which, like Maya and I were just talking about this, I think the main takeaway is you can never judge anyone. They might be giving you a literal teacher, and might be giving you figurative. So that's question 7. And then 11 is basically go through the 3 turnings. What's the order of them? Why? If you can give students anything that helps it stick in their mind, you know, like for some reason it sticks in my mind that second turning is Vulture's Peak Heart Sutra. So, you know, you can give the date or the location, but really like what was the main teaching of the Buddha, who then became his students, right? So like, okay, first turning of the wheel is what created Theravadan students for the Buddha. And then why, like, what's the reasoning behind the 3, right? So you start with the quintessential Buddhist teachings, then you go to the nothing exists, and then you go to third turning, backtracks. Wait, no, by that I meant some things exist, some things don't. And so I think explaining that for people so they realize like the logic, I guess, of the order of the 3. That's question 11.
Are we good? Okay. You are all hereby sorted.
Doing. Oh, nice. We have Sandy. Yes. And
oh, finally, we have some authority in the room.
No way. No way. How are you? So nice to be with you all.
Hi.
What's going on?
Oh, I'm just chilling, you know. Got Manjushri up in here.
Yeah, I love it.
Ready to slay some afflictions.
Yeah. Cool. So I know that Rachel didn't exactly like share what the prompt was. I think it's more of like you know, Mackenzie, Maya, and I will walk us through like some of the content that she shared last week. So I'm going to share my screen because I think it would be helpful to bring up what the first thing that we're going to review together. And I put this in the chat link in case you wanted to like follow along on your own browser. But it's the 3 turnings of the wheel when the Buddha had given these teachings, and it turned the wheel of the Dharma, and it helped to establish like deeper wisdom and understanding. I will just first start out by saying I am no expert in this. ACI18 like puts my mind through like a meat grinder, and I'm like blessed to have these teachings and hoping one day it opens into a deeper understanding for myself. So we're learning together is what I'm saying. And Mackenzie and Maya, feel free to jump in. So the first turning of the wheel, it took place in Sarnath near Varanasi. And I was kind of thinking like, if we had more time, I want to Google map and be like, where is this place? What does it look like? What would it be like if I was there, you know? And the group of followers that this teaching helped establish is the Theravadins, which Rachel kind of referenced is sort of a better term in describing what in some traditional texts people refer to as the lower school or the lower vehicle. Again, not trying to make any sort of hierarchy, but what it's pointing to is that in Hinayana, the lower vehicle, the individual's motivation is to reach nirvana, to reach the cessation of all mental afflictions for oneself. We're not even talking about anyone else, just me, right? Just let me squash my own shit. And so the subject matter was the 4 Arya Truths. Does someone here want to like recap what those are?
Yeah, I mean, I just spoke to Supriya about this, and she also referred to the Theravada or Hinayana school as the foundation school, because for what we learn, Madhyamika Prasangika, you need that foundation of knowledge before you can learn any of the other stuff. Like, it's still very relevant.
Yeah, good point.
It's kind of like how, like in Christianity, like in Judaism, it's like all the first book for both of us is the same, and then Jesus comes along and it goes separate ways. Is that?
It's just like the different goals. So Hinayana is less a vehicle, which means I'm going myself. And then Mahayana is greater vehicle, which is, I imagine it like a huge bus taking everyone with me. And that's the difference. But you need one to get the other. You don't have one by itself.
They build on each other, I think is what.
Can I chime in?
Yeah.
So I was talking about how I was listening to a teaching and I was thinking about the turning of the wheels as like time periods. And like, would that make sense with like these turnings of the wheel happen as you are walking on your spiritual path? Like, does the first turning of the wheel have to occur before the second, and then the second before the third?
I personally don't think so, but I know, like, I don't know exactly at what point in history these turnings of the wheel happen, but I think like there was the first turning, and then there was the second turning, and there's the third turning. So it's like this like wisdom was like evolving in a way. But I think as someone in this present time who has access to all these teachings, I think that's up to each individual person, I guess, you know?
I think it also depends on the mind who is understanding it. Like the Buddha said, the 4 Arya Truths. Okay, what if I don't understand that and I need to hear Heart Sutra and Emptiness to have the teachings turned on in me so I can help people be free and be free? And what if like neither of those I understand and I need to know the 3 attributes?
And 3 attributes, do you mean these views?
Yeah, so like what if that Buddha taught them in time periods, but I couldn't understand until the latest one? I think like it's less about time, it's more about trying to get everyone to understand using different teachings.
Yeah. Okay. I have so much to say about this, but I feel like we should go back to what are the 4 Arya Truths?
I don't know them all in order. It's life is suffering. There are causes, like there's a way out. We could get free. Something like that.
Yeah, very good. The third one, which you missed, sorry to say it like that, gosh. You know, if it's caused, then it can end. That's
okay.
one. And then there's a path out. And so the view here is that everything exists by definition. So I'm not an expert in this. Maya Mackenzie, thoughts?
Can you say the 4 Arya again?
Life
is suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the second one?
You want me to say it?
Yeah.
Life is suffering. There's causes to the suffering. If it's caused, then there's a way out. And then I don't know. Why am I getting them all mixed up?
No, if it's caused, then it can end.
Okay, yes.
And then the 4th would be there's a way out.
Oh, yes.
A path out. So life is suffering, things have causes. If it's caused, it can end, and there's a path out. I love that.
And then I would say everything exists by definition. Like if you're learning the 4 truths, that like things are caused and things end, I think that your mind is like, okay, like these things exist. Like if I'm experiencing it, it exists.
To me, it like puts everything in buckets. Like everything exists by definition. Like we can group it all into everything is suffering. Some things are caused and some things cause other things, but at the end of the day, it's all suffering and there is a path out. And that's what we're defining, that this is this and there is a way out. That's the way I'm interpreting it, but I don't know what.
I guess
you think like everything is real, which is not separate from, I mean, it is like nothing exists by definition, but it's like by whose definition?
Right.
But it's also a figurative teaching.
Right.
It's not a literal teaching.
Yeah.
So what does a literal teaching mean?
So a literal teaching would be like emptiness is a literal teaching.
Why isn't
For it to be literal, it has to be teaching emptiness.
I think what it points to, which kind of gets us into like the second thing we're going to cover in our breakout group, is like the difference, like why this whole course is about what the Buddha really meant, like what's a literal teaching versus a figurative teaching. And I think with the way that the sort of courses build on each other, it's like we've kind of touched through like logic, and we've touched through pramana, which is like a valid perception. And when you kind of bring those things together, and this is something that I really appreciate about Buddhism, which I first approached as a philosophy because I was like very traumatic to spirituality practices, is that with this literal versus figurative teaching, you need to use your own logic to test it, burn it, cut it. I think like there was that
Retest.
Yeah, like these right here. You got to burn it, cut it, and rub it, like, figuratively, using your own logic. Like, don't just follow, don't just believe, black text on a white background just because it looks authoritative, or someone says this Buddha knows like a lot of really deep stuff, like you should definitely believe everything he says. I think it's this encouragement of like, use your own logic to test these concepts and see if it works for you. Is it a literal teaching or is it figurative?
So the literalness of emptiness is kind of the foundation that we start from. And then the way we even are able to talk is that everything has a definition. But then because the literal is really emptiness, then that means that nothing has a definition. And so we're able to reject something because first we've accepted it. Because if we didn't accept it first, we couldn't reject it. And the literalness of it all is that there's emptiness. And so we've already just created the definition. That's an act of creation.
Can somebody tell me what turning the wheel is? Like, he just gave a sermon and people to Deer and people were psyched, like, or did people reincarnate as something and then that's when the wheel turned? Like, was this covered? And if it was, like, then
No, I don't know that. So
it's a great question. I think like I don't know exactly, but what it makes me think of is like I went to Nepal with 3 jewels and there was this stupa, and like Melissa had mentioned in the chat earlier, Korwa Kor, when people circumambulate a stupa which is like this very like holy location filled with holy texts and stuff. And maybe you've seen prayer wheels, and like everyone's walking by and they're always turning those prayer wheels. And to me, that represents this continuation of like the turning of the Dharma, turning of the wheel of the Dharma, for like the teachings of the Dharma to continue to move throughout like space and time. $67. You can make. So I'm not sure if that's accurate, but
Yes, Sandy, that sounds aligned
Did
with.
Rachel send us a YouTube of a hoop dancer?
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Sydney, that's why I was thinking of it in terms of like time periods, because my understanding is like at that point of time, the Buddha was teaching specific teachings like to groups of people, and that was like the momentum of the turning. And as people heard the teachings, like what he was saying is like you would teach the same teaching, but it would be a little different to people in New York versus people in Alaska. Right? So like at that time period, there's this like momentum of the teaching happening amongst people, but then as the teachings evolve and as people try it, cut it, I forget what those things are, then the gears, like they keep turning. And then I think that there's three main gears here because of the changes in the basic subject matter.
Mackenzie's right. It is to do with time period. I think we'll cover it in this class, but it talks about, it was any teaching that Lord Buddha gave during the initial period of his teaching career, because there are teachings that he gave during this time which we do not, that is not to do with this, but it's to do with the period of time that he was teaching. And I think the period of time that he was teaching links to the level of understanding that people had, because as a Buddha, you can read minds and are omniscient and can teach to what people need. So you can alter that based off of.
So the wheel can't be turned again.
I mean, if
I was thinking about that, like, what if this is like a current wheel that we're like.
I mean, if we're seeing everyone as holy beings, then sure.
So during the turning of the wheel, everybody saw each other as holy beings.
That's what the Buddha was teaching that people should do. Is that
that's a practice?
Yeah.
It's one of our practices.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're turning the wheel right now.
Right.
But nobody's going to put it down in the.
I would say for me at least, these wheels are always turning. Like,
yes,
I would not say my mind is it's probably never been in Mahayana, right? Like I'm probably still like in the 4 Arya Truths throughout the day, right? You have to like think of your mind kind of as these gears as well.
It practices. It's practice.
Yeah.
And it's when you practice it, then that's when it's through the practice that it starts to make sense. It's the practice that allows it to gain its meaning that it has. But a very interesting thing happened to me today is I saw a YouTube of a hoop dance. A Navajo Indian? No, I don't even remember which tribe. Maybe he's Crow. Maybe a Crow. And he won three national contests of this, but he's amazing. It's a TED Talk. And when you open the chat room, I'll put the link in. But the hoop dance is the circle of life. So the turnings are really just the rhythm of life. And the fact that it's not all the same.
They can't be though, because we are stuck like this. These things are like clearly written down. And that's what I'm asking about. Like these things that are written down. Like I get, we can like say that things are constantly turning, but like what decides I'm just trying to find out like what decides this was the turning of the wheel, and we're gonna write this down so that everybody can learn it in ACI.
Yeah, Sydney, I feel like this would be a good thing for you to research, and you let us know.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Okay.
Oh.
1 minute. Go ahead.
I guess I don't understand why the Arya Truths is a figurative teaching, because it seems so like it's not like something you have to decode. It's like pretty straightforward. Life is suffering, there's way out. Like, what's the figurativeness in that?
I think it's the view.
Hmm?
The view is what's figurative. That things exist by definition. Like that I can label something and it exists because I've labeled it. You know, the boy named Tashi. There's this thing, there's the screaming blob of flesh, and I'm like, the boy named Tashi. Sorry we didn't really get to go through all of this in these last 15 seconds, but essentially karma, emptiness, literal. Focus on that. But Sydney, I'll think about your questions too, and we can talk about it.
I have Google, it's fine. Thank you.
Whoa, that happened really suddenly. I think I was alone, and then suddenly there were like 50 of you here. Okay, what was that all about? Moral of the story is we can't trust Lord Buddha. And we have to trust ourselves. Damn, that's hard. So, but that's also what Jason Kappa wrote in the commentary, right? What's the name of the type of study we're doing? What's the category right now? Do you know? Do you remember? Trungye, the art of interpretation, the art of understanding what Lord Buddha actually wants me to do, the art of understanding actually what should I do? Because so many people can hear the same teaching, the exact same words, and get a very different takeaway. And because of emptiness, because of the quality that we're studying tonight, because of this lack of self-nature that we're always talking about, because of the emptiness of the teachings, two people can walk away from the same teaching with different instructions that both work for them. And that's a very, you know, they say you die alone, you practice alone. And even though we have community, like the path, even if you have a lama and you live with them, I've lived with one of my teachers before. And even when I was living with her, like a few feet away, it was still up to me to figure out what the hell to do with my mind. Her being closer to me didn't solve the problem. Sangha being together in a chat room and having inside jokes and laughing together doesn't solve the problem. Even your teacher giving you the answer doesn't solve the problem. It's about understanding how to take that answer and adapt it to my life. And that's why we're studying Trungye. It doesn't matter how many teachings you receive or how many profound lamas you meet. And then people get addicted to profound lama, profound teaching, more. None of the practices are turning on. Well, why? And so in Buddhism, they build this little protection for you called Trungye. Figure out how to apply. Yes, it's all great. Yes, it's all amazing. All paths lead to God. And actually, everyone is God. But don't worry about that yet. So how do I make it so in my mind, in my body, in my practice? So that's why we're studying Trungye. And then Lord Buddha taught these three main baskets, right? First wheel, first turning of the wheel. We just went over this. What is it? 4 Arya Truths, right? Okay, what are the 4 Arya Truths? Someone say it.
There's suffering, life is suffering, there's an end to suffering. Or the second one is suffering is caused, there's an end to suffering, and there's a pathway out of suffering.
Cool, is that true or not?
It's true.
Okay. And what about the second turning of the wheel? What's the second turning?
Nothing exists.
Nothing exists self-existently, right? It's the Heart Sutra. No eyes, no nose, no tongue, no touch, no taste. Nothing to see, nothing to hear. I don't have it memorized. Hector does. He memorized it because it's a short one. You can get it in your mind so that when you're dying, it comes up quickly in your mind, the Dharma. I thought that was really beautiful. Anyway, so first Lord Buddha's like, listen, everything's really this way. Life is suffering. And everyone's like, yay, Lord Buddha, you're so right. Life is suffering. So, some people gathered around that teaching, and the moment he said it, they became enlightened. The moment he said it, they became enlightened. Is that from his words? No, it can't be from his words. Maya just said the same words, and I'm still stuck in samsara, right? You're still suffering. You heard the 4 Arya Truths. How come you're not enlightened if enlightenment came from the 4 Arya Truths? So there's a group of people that gather around those teachings. Generally, you could say that those are the Theravadan practitioners, and that's how they're viewing reality. The 4 Arya Truths are true for every school of Buddhism. Theravadan conception of reality being things do have a nature. Vaibhashika school, Abhidharmakosha. We study the Abhidharmakosha when we learn about karma. So we use those texts in this lineage. We use them. They're true. Is it the whole truth? No. Second turning of the wheel. Nothing exists self-existently. Some people heard that, boom, enlightened. Heart Sutra. Vulture's Peak. Oh, thank you, Lord Buddha. That was what I needed to become an angel. And then some people were like, oh, now I understand how to practice. And some people were like, oh no, nothing exists. What do I do? Nothing like makes sense anymore. Nothing matters. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then they freak out and go into nihilism. You know, because you've been there. I know, because I've been there, probably, right? You know what I mean? The emptiness thing, it's really hard to grasp. And it's easy to fall off into nothing exists, nothing matters, right? It's so hard. Life is suffering. That's true. I know that. I can see that. Can't see emptiness. Now you're telling me that things lack a self-nature? I just fell off. I fell off the horse, Lord Buddha. And so some bodhisattva from the crowd is like, listen, Lord Buddha, you just taught 2 totally opposite things. First, you're telling me life really is this way. There is a nature to reality, and that nature is suffering. And then you're telling me there's no nature to anything, including my suffering. So which one am I supposed to believe? And the fact that he asked that question, just like the way that many of you ask these questions, it points out that some group of students was not relating with the Heart Sutra teaching in a way that was helping them get to enlightenment. It threw them off. They needed something else. They needed the turning of the wheel of fine distinctions, where Lord Buddha said, okay, hold on. No, both of the teachings are correct, but let's make some distinctions here. There's some things that have a nature, and there's some things that don't have a nature. And then he went through the 3 attributes. And we'll go through that a little bit. But huh? Is someone asking something? Okay. So we'll go into it with a little bit more detail. It's really nice to know where your mind is falling. It's also really nice to know where, when an affliction comes, Because it doesn't matter if you can access the highest wisdom, like in an unafflicted state. I mean, it does matter. But like, if you're like, oh yeah, Majjhimika Prasangika view, the pen is a pen and a chew toy, which means it's neither a pen nor a chew toy. Emptiness, 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 emptiness. Highest school, that's my school, the highest school. And then all of a sudden, you're attacked by anger, or you're attacked by sadness, by depression. Someone close to you dies, and you're thrown way off course. Then what do you do? Then what do you do? How do you meet your mind? What's the antidote for your mind at that point? If you can't grasp this thing, there's some other things to get to, right? 4 Arya Truths. Don't worry, life is suffering. Don't worry, it will change. That's the way life works, it will change. And we'll go through it. Okay, blah, blah. Showing you the PowerPoint now. And then we'll do the prayers. So, okay, here's Beyonce. Class 10, there is no ground. It's like the Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Bad news is you're falling. Good news is there's no ground. So when we get to the Majjhimika Prasangika view of emptiness, which is the pen thing, that's what we learn at 3 Jewels. Majjhimika Prasangika view, middle way. You could also say middle way consequence school. When we learn that nothing has a nature independent of my karma, the application of that is like really spacious, and it's like this infinite regression. Almost feels like there's nothing that you can land on. And so my challenge to you is to fly, not to fall. Apply the teachings on emptiness. There's something about those teachings that helped Lord Buddha wake up. There's something here that you can access with your own mind, which you have created. You created these teachings. Every experience you get is something that you created in the past. It's not my words. It's not my words. It's not my personality. It's not the technology that's bringing it to you. And it's not 3 Jewels. And it's not Buddhism. It's something that you created in the past. And when we start to apply it properly, which is different for everybody, even though we all agree, yes, this is a pen. Even though we all agree, yes, this is Buddhism. Yes, killing is wrong. Yes, we should meditate. Yes, it sucks that we're all gonna die. Even though we agree on those things, we share that karmic projection. There's something that we have to do to turn these teachings on. And it's like a mirage. You know how you're in the desert in all those cartoons and you see this mirage and it's really beautiful, then they go closer and closer and it disappears? This is the opposite. This is the opposite of that. It's something very obscure and very diluted, far away. And then with emptiness, if we're really holding it, if we're really understanding it, the image becomes more vivid and more beautiful the closer that we get. So that's the invitation of this class. And you've already done the work, some of you longer than me, even some of the people in this class, some of you for many years or for many weeks. Whatever it is, don't think that you have to wait to experience the result of what you've created. Don't think you have to wait. There's this perspective of like, oh, I don't know enough about Buddhism yet. Or, oh, I only meditate for 10 minutes. I don't meditate for 50 minutes, or I only have these teachings. I don't have those teachings. Once I get those teachings, then I can allow myself to finally relax into the fact that I have created the karma that is the karma that I need to feel this result, to touch bliss. You already have it. You already have it. We've lived countless lifetimes. So the invitation here is receive the teaching as the result of the teachings. You've already done the work. So embody that being that you've created. They're there. The causes are there. Inspiration, image, inspiration, image, inspiration, image. Okay. Also, the singing helps people. Okay, so now we're going to, in the same way that we imagine ourselves as the result, future refuge. This is what Santi teaches on Saturday mornings, and I think some other people, sorry if I'm forgetting you, but it's easy to know with Santi in the house. You're using future refuge. You're becoming the Buddha to hear the Buddha. You see what I'm saying? So we're gonna offer a pure world in exchange for the teaching tonight. May this be the thing. May this be the thing that brings me there. And then we do the protection prayer, reminding ourselves of emptiness over and over. All the Buddhist prayers is just emptiness, 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 bliss, 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 love, 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 okay? So that's what we're doing with our hands. It's good. It's like medicine for your mind. There's no combination of teachings that creates enlightenment. This could be the one. It doesn't matter if you've done all the courses. It really doesn't. I mean, you should do all the courses. But how do we know it doesn't matter? Some people heard the 4 Arya Truths and attained it. So this could be that for you. Don't pretend it's not. You're just selling yourself short. You're not selling me short. I'm doing whatever I'm doing in my head. Even if you know me, even if I'm just some asshole to you that you show up because we're friends, please, like, pretend I'm not that. Okay, I'm done. Who wants to do this? Kelly? Good, okay.
Sashi Puki Jukshin Metok Tram Rira Blingshin Yande Gempadi Sange Shingdu Mikte Uwargi Jokun Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami Sangye Chudang Soki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chanyen Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Panshir Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chudang Soki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chanyen Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Panchir Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chudang Tsoki Choknam La Jangchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chanyen Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Panchir Sangye Drupar Sho.
Okay. I think we already did all of this. I'm just looking at my notes. We did. Okay. Main teaching tonight, 6 flavors of emptiness. And we do it by reviewing the gakcha. What's a gakcha?
The thing that doesn't exist.
What does that mean?
The thing that you think exists, that's self-existent, but it's not.
Can you give me an example?
Like how I think you're so hot and amazing.
But I'm not really, right?
Yeah, it's really just coming from me.
All of the guys that made fun of me in middle school, for having glasses and braces and really bad acne, that wouldn't have happened. It's easier when we're not talking about me, so I'm going to give an example that Geshe Michael often uses. Thank you, though, Sydney. You're absolutely correct. It's the partner that we get angry at. And I think there's a reason Geshe Michael uses this example, and I think it's brought to you by my karma. No, I think it's universal. It's like when we're in this experience where we're upset at someone, and you all have been there, even if it's you being upset at you, even if it's you being upset at you, the you that you're upset at doesn't exist. That's the gotcha. Okay, let's look at the partner in the kitchen. You remember this? You come home from work, long day at work, you walk into the apartment, partner says, "You're stupid." And then in the moment that they say, "You're stupid," there's two partners in the kitchen. There's the partner that I created, who's from my karma. And when I know that for sure, and that occurs, I'm not moved. There's no anger. You're like, okay. Like, you don't get angry at a weed for growing in your garden or a flower growing in your garden. You know, because you were the one that's growing the stinking garden. So you don't, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is an appearance. This is a karma ripening. Then the second husband that's in the room, the second partner that's in the room, is the one that I did not create. How dare she treat me this way? How dare he say that to me? He must be a bad person. The one that I get angry at, I couldn't get angry at them if I knew, if I was connected in my mind with the fact that they came from my karma. It would be impossible. But because I'm not, because I believe that they're coming this way and not this way, then the anger occurs. So we have to study the one that doesn't exist, because we have to convince ourselves, for the sake of our future, for the sake of our emotions, for the sake of the way we experience ourselves, our partnerships, our jobs, our health, even our death. If we can understand that the gotcha is bullshit, then we don't have to die. Because our experience of death is a gotcha. Our experience of cancer is a gotcha. And everything on up, heartbreak, loneliness, being trapped in samsara, and it's so hard to get out. These practices are so hard. Also a gotcha. So that's why we're studying this. And there's 6 different ways, generally, that are taught of conceptions of the gotcha. It's the way we think things are, but how they are actually not. Okay, first one. This is the Abhidharma school. This is like, here, okay, let me just say it. So the chart, FLV, that's the flavor of emptiness. So there's going to be 6 numbers there. Then the next one is the lack of self, the gotcha. The second husband, the one that I didn't create. It's not my fault. Why are you yelling at me? I don't deserve this. So it's the object that we deny. It's the object that we deny. Okay, then you can see the other columns to the right. These are like the more technical terminology, and we'll see MO is mind only. That's the school we studied last class. And then MWI, MWC is middle way. That's generally the school we fall into. MWC, middle way consequence, that's us. That's the highest school. That's 3 Joules emptiness teachings. So you don't need to pay too much attention to that, but I will refer to it so that you know on the right-hand side, those are the 3 highest schools of emptiness and how they relate, okay? But I'm gonna try to explain it in like the most simple way so that you can keep it as a reference point in your mind. And just like the first turning of the wheel is still important and relevant to us, no matter how profound the level you were at, all of these different levels are useful for many practitioners, okay? So the first flavor of emptiness, this is in the Vaibhashikas or Abhidharma school. The emptiness that we're talking about at this level is that things are empty of being unchanging. Things are empty of being unchanging. So they're always changing, but we speak in negatives. Things are the emptiness thing, what they're empty of is unchangingness. This is like the impermanence teachings, right? First flavor of emptiness. You can say this is impermanence. And what it's saying is things keep changing. It's like don't get so freaked out when the breakup happens, or when the teacher that you thought was so great ends up being pretty shitty. You know, in this school, they're like, don't worry too much about that. Everything that's created is destroyed. Everything, the moment you received it, it was broken already. So don't get so upset. And we like to think, I think, I'm like, oh, listen, I'm already studying this advanced shit. I don't really have to like worry about this unchanging situation. But the reality is we don't even have this internalized, right? I mean, how much would it help you if every time something broke, you weren't like losing your mind? I don't know. I mean, maybe you all have this one, but I know that it's even tough for me. It's like, you know, it's like, what do you mean? I remember when 3 Joules was moving out of the old location, there was a part of me, a pretty big part of me, even though I didn't talk about it too much, that was like, what do you mean we can't be in that old space? Now we have this new space and it's like really pretty and stuff. I can't just show up in my PJs. Even though if you ask Diego, like I pretty much am from the waist down. Zoom mullet. No, but there was part of me that was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean we have to leave the old space with the leaks and the 2 rooms and the Airbnb upstairs that they would party in the middle of Dharma class and you could hear people, you know, snorting cocaine through the floor. Not really, but you know, there was big parties and we would be like hearing the most profound things and people are like partying hard upstairs. There was a part of me that was so heartbroken, you know? And then there's a part of me that was so heartbroken when Hector taught his last ACI class. Like when I was doing what many of you are doing tonight, it's like I followed him around for 7 years and then I just watched the last class because this was the last class for me. And it was like, you know, I got so used to just showing up with flowers and sitting there and it was like my church every Sunday. It helped me get through the rest of the week. What do you mean that's ending? What am I gonna do with myself now? What the heck? So this is so useful because we keep moving things around in our world thinking that it's going to help us feel better. Like if I took that state of mind, like, no, Hector, you have to stay in this seat and keep saying those words at me. Like if I took that logic, like, oh, the pleasure came from him sitting in the seat and doing, no, you need to sit in the seat and do the words. It can't change. You have to keep going over and over and over and over. It can't change, stay the same. And we think that, right? We think that, oh, why is my partner different now than when I first met them? That sucks. I wish they were that way like from 3 years ago. That was so much better. Why'd they have to change? You get my point, right? And, you know, even with the body, it's like, even if you perfect, like Supriya is really good at this. Supriya, if you know her, she's very particular about what foods she chooses to consume. So like, it's gotta be like ethical, organic. It also has to be very beautiful. And you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, people like that, like Supriya. And many of us, we think if we drink green juice every day and do yoga every day and say our prayers at night, then we'll live forever. Not true. Even if you lock your body in a museum and they feed you everything that you need, you get the perfect exercise, you get the perfect amount of praise from your parents, you get the perfect amount of oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin, perfect. The neurotransmitter vibe, what's it called? The vibe is immaculate in your neurotransmitters. Your body's still gonna kill itself. There is a self-destruct point in which it doesn't matter how well you took care of yourself. You're gonna die. Sorry, impermanence. Okay. How does this help? We can avoid a lot of suffering if we're unmoved by impermanence. Will it get me enlightened to be okay when things fall apart? Will it get me enlightened, knowing that things break down and not losing my shit when they break down? I mean, that's for you to answer. But the general teaching here is that this isn't enough. It's part of it, but it's actually not enough. Extremely useful, but we need a little bit more. On to the second flavor. Whew. The way that it's phrased is always so confusing to me. Lack of a self-nature of a person, where the person is a self-standing, substantial thing, won't last. What it's saying is that there's no soul controlling your body. And don't worry about the word soul. It's not like, don't worry about it. If you have an association with the word soul, that's okay. But listen to what the teaching actually means. It's saying there's no Wizard of Oz. There's no, like, you know those illustrations? There's like a tiny person in your head pulling levers. It's not that. It's like saying what doesn't exist, the emptiness in this school, or the gotcha in this school is you that was driving your body and your mind. No such thing as a tiny Rachel inside my body who's driving my body. There's no such thing as a Rachel that's driving my body. How do I know that? And you think that you can, right? You think that you're driving your body because you can lift your arm, you can drink a substance, but can you control your mind in meditation? When you wake up depressed, can you say, be not depressed? You can't, right? Proof that you aren't driving you. There's something else driving you. Yes, we can make decisions, but there's something else going on. In this school, it's like, listen, your karma is forcing you. Do you have free will? Yes, you can still make choices. But the way that things are occurring to you in the moment is that you are forced by all of your past thoughts, words, and actions to break that vow, to lose your temper. And then you know this, especially if you have vows. It's like, and I've done it too. It's like, Lama, please forgive me. I was an asshole again. I will take all the vows. I'm serious about this stuff. I'll dedicate my life to it. I will do anything that you ask. Stop getting angry. Okay. Few hours later, you know when you've worked with Vinaya, when you've worked with morality, that it's like you watch your mouth saying, fuck you, and you can't shove it back in the moment. It's like concrete. That's what they say. It's like concrete. So if I know that there's no Wizard of Oz, really if I know, because intellectually we're saying, yes, I agree. But then we still beat ourselves up when we can't practice the way that we want to. We still beat ourselves up when we say or do something that we wish we didn't. It's like, oh, you're so bad. You're so bad. Oh, you're not good enough. Oh man, you made this promise and you broke it again, Rachel. Why didn't the Wizard of Oz keep you? You're so bad. You're so bad. But it's not like, oh, the practical application would be like, ah, yes, I was forced by my past karma to fuck up again. All right. And then like, that's it. There's no melodrama. You know what I mean? It's just, it's very practical. And that's why in the purification, if you've done purification practice with Sarah, or you've learned the 4 forces of purification in Tibetan Buddhism, they're very clear. Guilt is not a thing. It's just regret. I regret that I was forced by my past karma and my ignorance to do something so stupid, because now it's going to bite me in the ass and I don't want it to. So now I have to pull up the weed and plant a flower. You see how useful that is? Even just the second flavor of emptiness, we could save so much time and so much like self-flagellation from understanding this one. What a beautiful teaching. Thank you, Lord Buddha, for this figurative teaching on emptiness. You are saving me from so much future crap. All right, let me see what else I have here. Oh yeah, this is my personal rant. I'll give it to you because I think some of you will like it. It's like when people say, oh, you're not making the money that you want because you don't believe that you deserve it. You're not getting the partner that you want because you don't believe. It's not belief. There's no agency there. I'm being forced by my past karma. It's like when the fireman has the fire hose and they're spraying you in the face like 300 miles an hour. That's what we're experiencing on a day-to-day thing. It's not like, oh, Rachel, you're so stupid. Just fix your beliefs about yourself. Why can't you just do it? Okay, so we can avoid, is this resonating at all? Can't tell from your face. Sydney says no, that's fine. Okay. And we'll get into it. So it's deeper than belief. We're being forced. There's no me that's making these decisions, that's driving the bus. How do I know that? I can't always do what I want to do. Okay.
Rachel, can I ask a question? Who is the one in the moment who's like, I'm not going to do this anymore during purification?
Also karma.
Ah, okay.
keep going. We can get to it. You still have it. Was someone else going to say something?
Yeah, I had a question about it too. If your bad karma is forcing you into, say, a bad relationship, and you study karma and realize what's happening, and you choose, okay, I'm going to plant new karmic seeds, is that not, so it's not belief planting the new karmic seeds, is then you're also being forced to plant the new karmic seeds?
Yeah, good question. I don't want to go there right now. Belief is important. I'm not saying belief is not important. It's just not as simple as me sitting here and saying, I believe that I deserve to become enlightened right now. Like, that's not the practice. It's like a little bit more complex than that. So for me, like, I get kind of annoyed, whatever, it's fine. You can know, I get annoyed. I get annoyed when I see these things that it's kind of like sets people up for failure. It's like, oh, just believe this and everything will change. It's not true. How do I know? I believe that I deserve $1 million, not getting it. I truly believe that this is the most precious thing and that it will help everyone. Is that gonna happen? Not necessarily. It's not about belief. But that's not the point of this school. That was like a side thing that does relate to this teaching. The point of this teaching is that there's no person with total agency in every moment to moment to moment driving. There's no Wizard of Oz that's pulling strings in the back. It's not in my control in the moment to change things. It's like the part of the Penn teaching, because Geshe Michael covers all of these. It's the part in the Penn teaching where it says, can I will this to become a block of gold? It's coming from me, isn't it? And then you close your eyes and try to make this a block of gold, and you can't, right? You can't even make it a chew toy. You can't make it appear to you the way it appears to the dog. So it's saying that the takeaway here is recognizing that you're being forced by your past karma. Okay, we're still going. Oops. Okay, number 3. Now, this is mind-only school. This is mind-only school. So the lack of self here that we're talking about is that when a karmic seed ripens, you don't have to worry about reading this because I'm going to explain it to you, and I'll explain it in easier language than I think than what's here, which is when a karma ripens. My experience, so when a karma ripens for me to see a pen, for example, when that ripens, it ripens into the pen and my perception of the pen. And an experience that exists independent of that process is not possible. So it's saying your perception and the object that you perceive come from the same cause. They come from the same cause. And this is like saying, there's no accidents, like I'm involved here. I'm involved in this, I'm participating in this reality. So you start to take responsibility for some things. Everything in your world, because you're in front of it, you're experiencing it, there's something about you that you can learn from this thing. Like Rumi says, what you seek is seeking you. So no matter how many partners you try, put it aside, didn't work, try again, put it aside, didn't work, no matter how many jobs you cycle through, the core experience isn't going to shift too much if you're not changing the thing that's within you. It's like that type of way of relating with a karma. It's that type of way of relating with your reality. There's someone who's the common denominator in all of the bad jobs, in all of the bad relationships, in all of the bad TV shows. There's something in common here, and it's you. Sorry, says Lord Buddha. You're the one that's in common. This is so helpful. It's such a relief. Why? So many people ask me about choice. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I use this one or do I use that one? I ask myself those questions. Then I either have to remind myself of the teaching in this school or someone's got to remind me, you know? Both the problem and the me that's experiencing it as a problem are coming from my past. So I'm getting close to taking things as a teaching. Oh, there's some of what I'm experiencing is related to me, to my mind. This worldview is very close to our worldview, which is worldview number 6, which we'll get to. Because it sounds like that, right? Like there's something about my mind that's creating this experience. It sounds like the pen thing, right? And the only major difference that Geshe Michael related in his teaching is that this is the school where, if Javier's here, there's a storehouse consciousness called the Kunchi. And in this school, your karmas are in a storehouse consciousness. And then in our school, in the Madhyamika Prasangika school, in the middle way consequence school, it's just your main mind. It's just, they call it main mind versus storehouse consciousness. Okay. So this is another division of the mind-only school, the 4th flavor of emptiness. So the mind-only school that we learned yesterday, the one that's so similar to us, even they have a slight disagreement within themselves on which way is the way that's more useful, that functions for those who are practicing. So remember, the point of debate in Tibetan Buddhism is what?
What's the belief set?
Huh?
I think it's to challenge each other's belief set, mainly your own belief set.
Why?
Because you shouldn't just believe what people are telling you.
To find the emptiness.
My mom says to find the emptiness. That's probably the right answer.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Zoe, in that one of the Buddha's teachings is like, don't just accept what I'm saying because I'm a cool guy with like gold skin and I'm glowing and I'm sexy and I can do miracles. Don't believe every person that tells you something, because then you have to believe every other person that tells you something. It puts you in a very difficult situation. So Zoe's right. We have to figure out what we believe through our mind. That's why Jason Kappa says, don't even trust the Buddha. You have to figure it out, dude. Otherwise, you're screwed. But what Zoe's mom said actually is a little bit closer. The point is to get to emptiness. Why? The point is to get to emptiness to destroy suffering. For who? For you and everyone else. So I think it's important here to remember that these divisions aren't a negative thing. They're a positive thing. These disagreements are beautiful because they're like figuring out the perfect puzzle piece fit into different minds. It's not bad. That's why, like, when you look around at other people teaching Buddhism, like I do this a lot because, you know, hiring people for 3 jewels, hiring guest speakers, figuring out like what's their worldview. What are they going to teach the students? Is it the highest worldview or not? Because I want to make sure it's the highest worldview. There's a danger in thinking that just because someone's teaching a certain worldview, that is their worldview. Do not judge another unless you are me or someone like me, Lord Buddha. Unless you can read their mind, you don't know what experience they're having in their own mind. So be very careful of saying, I'm in the highest school, you're in the lowest school. Oh, you only think about impermanence? That's not going to make you an angel. Stupid, really stupid way to practice. Okay.
Master Vasubandhu, the author of the Abhidharma Kosha, was a mind-only practitioner, but he wrote the Abhidharma Kosha, for instance.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you, Leah. So one of the foundational texts of one of the lower schools was written by someone who is practicing in a higher school. And then even if he said, oh, I'm mind only, like you don't know what view he's actually holding, you know? And then Geshe Michael said this, he was like, listen, he said, he was talking about how the Buddha doesn't lie. Like everything that the Buddha says is true. Everything that the Buddha says is true. Everything that she says, she or he, depending on the emanation. And I thought that was really beautiful. You know, you really don't know who these people are that are teaching. It's not just like the one guy that has the eyes that look like that with the top knot. It's not that the top knot makes him right, you know? And it's not the words that make him right either. It's actually your karma. Because a lot of people say Buddhism, so what? Dalai Lama, so what? Okay. So we're in a second subset of the mind-only school because it's perfect for another set of minds to get to their perfect enlightenment. And this is the thing with the Kuntaks and the Shenwangs. You remember that? I'm going to explain it super quick, all right? There's this thing, it's a dependent thing, meaning that it came to fruition because of causes and conditions. It's a thing, it's like a baby that's like fat and yelling. And it's got skin and bones and stuff, and it's like this yelling blob. Then its parents have a kuntak, a construct. So this is the baby dependent thing created by a sperm, an egg, and then multiplying cells. And then you have a kuntak that's applied to it where they say, my baby Tashi. And then the other people who see the blob don't think, oh, it's Tashi. They just say baby. And then the parents say Tashi. Tashi. Emptiness in this school says there's no construct that necessarily applies to a dependent thing. Like your baby is not necessarily Tashi because you're calling it Tashi. Your baby isn't necessarily Tashi because your construct goes like this, because for other people, it's someone else. Or they'll have a different perception of Tashi. You see what I'm saying? It's very close to our school. There's a dependent thing created by causes and conditions, and we're all having these constructs that we're layering on it, This real thing, it's real, it's dependent, it's created by causes and conditions, and then we're having these projections over and over and over and over. And emptiness in this school is the lack of a perfect kuntak for the Shenwang. It's like, if you think of music, right? Take Kendrick Lamar, for example. There's nothing in Kendrick Lamar's music that's forcing me to have a good kuntak, that's forcing me to have a good construct. There's nothing in the notes, in the lyrics, in the production, that's forcing me to have positive, exciting, inspiring kuntak. Because, and other people are having their kuntak. Some people are like, you know, rap music. People think that, you know, and they're stupid. So if I'm having my kuntak and I believe that my kuntak applies necessarily to this Shenwang, Kendrick Lamar's music, and there's other people that say, no, my kuntak, that's stupid, necessarily applies to this Shenwang, then we're gonna have a problem. And this is how wars start. So the value in recognizing that kuntaks don't necessarily apply to Shenwangs, the value in it is that when people disagree, you can understand that it's totally valid to have two completely different experiences of the exact same thing. So if we can realize this level of emptiness, we'll stop shoving our opinions down other people's throats. And we'll stop fighting over things. Like, of course you hate that thing that I love. It doesn't bother me. Of course you think something over there and I'm thinking something over here. It doesn't bother me. Like, imagine not having that experience when someone disagrees with you. And I'm not just talking about music. Music's like an easy one. But like, imagine if you're having a really difficult conversation about ethics with someone. Why did you do that? You're wrong. That was harmful. Hello? That was so harmful. Everyone over here in Buddhism class agrees that what you did is a bad karma. And then they're over there saying, I don't think that I did anything wrong. Then you won't feel any suffering if you understand this level of emptiness. You'll just be like, of course. We stop being so surprised by disagreements and also refrain from judging other people as wrong or less than or whatever. So the value of this flavor of emptiness. Good? Whew. I can't tell from your faces. Do you want me to say that Kendrick Lamar is self-existently good? It has been said in the past. Okay. Things don't have natures by definition. Stop fighting over music. Don't be judgmental. Okay. Climbing up there. So now we're in middle way. And in the middle way school, there's a lower and a higher. And this one is the lower. This is Svatantrika, or middle way independent. It's not Tantrika like Tantra, it's something else. And this one is even more close to our thing. Okay, hold on, I need caffeine. So, what do I want to use? I'll just use this cup. So in this school, the teaching is that like it's 50-50 what's happening. Okay, well, the Gakcha is that a thing which is not 50% that thing, 50% what my mind brings to that thing does not exist. Okay, so let's talk about it in the positive. There's nothing, no. Okay, this is a cup of water, right? No, it's a cup of tea, sorry. This is a cup of tea. And there's something about this that's suggesting cup of tea. There's like some aspects of it that suggest to me a little bit like a gentle suggestion, cup of tea. And then my unaffected state of mind makes it a cup of tea. So there's suggestive evidence that's coming this way. But then my unaffected state of mind, what I bring to it when I come into the room is cup of tea. Not in the room, just a suggestion. Just a suggestion. You can't call it a cup of tea when I'm not in the room. But once I come in the room, my mind brings cup of tea. And it needs to be an unaffected state of mind. Like I can't be under a serious affliction, right? We're talking about pramana, valid perception. In order to have that perception occur, it has to be like unaffected state of mind. I can't be on LSD. Something else might happen if I'm on LSD. If I'm under a serious anger affliction, something else might happen. So emptiness, this cup is empty of a cup that would force cup on me without the unaffected state of mind. So this cup is empty of a cup that exists as cup without me in the room. It's very close to our school. It's very close to our school. So it's suggesting, there's something about this that suggests cup of tea, but my mind has to be there to make it cup of tea. Okay, it's empty of, the gakcha is a cup of tea that doesn't need the unaffected state of mind to be a cup of tea. Do you see how close we are? We're almost done, don't worry. And we'll probably end early. So for this school, a tree that falls in the forest when no one is around isn't a tree falling. Something's happening. But without my unaffected state of mind, it can't be tree falling for this school. And how is this helpful? So each of these different layers have a certain thing, right? Things break down, I don't lose my mind. I can't control things, I don't lose my mind, right? I start to realize when it comes from the same karmic seed that there's something about my mind that I'm bringing to this. So in this school, it's saying, because there's so much of our reality that we're responsible for. This is saying 50-50 now. 50% suggestion, 50% my projection. If that's true, then I take responsibility for half of my reality. Why is that good? Anyone want to guess? I mean, it says it on the slide. It helps us turn problems into an opportunity. Because if there's a disagreement, I'm in the disagreement, and I'm saying, okay, half of this is really bad from its own side. Half of this is like conflict, yelling, whatever. But then it's my state of mind that I bring to it. It's something about my mind, not my state of mind. It's not like, oh, it's my emotion. It's not like that. It's like your force, the state of mind that you have when you're experiencing that situation is creating that situation. Part of me is, I'm partially responsible for what's happening. And so this allows lojong to occur. I can start to turn my problems into learning opportunities. Things aren't only the way that they're appearing to me, they're partly my mind. So problems are not problems on their own. It's about what I bring to it. Sound familiar? Problems are not problems on their own. It's what I bring to the problem that determines whether or not it's actually a problem. Half of it is cancer that's really bad. Cancer is bad. Half of my experience of cancer is bad cancer. Half of what I bring to it is what I make of it. Lojong. Transform it. Doesn't need to be bad. It can be beautiful, amazing. It can be a learning opportunity. That's according to this teaching. You got broken up with? The breaking up part, the suggestion from that is bad. But what about what you bring to it? Can it be a transformation? And this school starts to open up, it starts to open up into your ability to create a different experience. So you can think of it like there's a glass, it's this tall, and it's filled up this much. The glass is filled this much. And then it's up to your mind whether or not it's half empty or half full. It's your mind that you bring to it that says it's half empty or half full. It's still filled up this way. It's still filled up this way, but it's your mind that makes it one way or the other way. So, how to practice this? This is really beautiful. And I sort of want to, yeah, I will teach this because we've already done Lojong, so it's not foreign. Someone hurt you. Someone really hurt you. They disappointed you in a major way. In a major, major, major way. You're suffering greatly. Practice this flavor of emptiness by seeing them as a divine being sent to wake you up. The hurt happened. Bring the state of mind which sees them as an angel. Never from this moment on, if you want to practice this, if you don't want to practice this, I mean, do you even want to hear this stuff? Because this is kind of hard. Okay, so because I don't know, I don't want to, push people out of their comfort zone. For some people, this isn't an appropriate teaching. So someone has hurt you, they disappoint you. You put all your eggs in that basket. They were supposed to be this way. You agreed together that you would be your way, they would be their way. You agreed. And then something happens that hurt you. You want to practice the fifth flavor of emptiness. You see them as an angel. And you see them as your divine teacher that's giving you a teaching. You're responsible for 50%. The hurt happened, but do your 50%. Make it a divine teaching. Don't make it for nothing. Don't make it half empty. Make it half full. And refuse to ever see them as anything but that teacher. From this moment on, choose the person in your mind that's been harming you, even if it's you. Then, next step, refuse to see them as anything but a divine being. That's how you practice this. That's the Lojong, 8 verses, Diamond Lion. Someone earlier today said, what is the point of that? Well, wouldn't it be great if it were true? And how do you know it's not true? We pretend to be certain about our reality all the time. And we think that we know who the people are that are closest to us, especially when they hurt us and they have this thing. Like I have this thing with Santi, like she always sleeps late. And I'm so annoyed by it. I want to get up at 7:30 in the morning. I want to do my whole thing. And she's like sleeping late. And it annoys me every single time. And I think that that means something. I like I judge it and I walk away. My 50% is I'm annoyed. But it doesn't have to be that way. Like think about it. Really think about it. The person that hurt you, it's your responsibility. I'm so sorry that it is. If it was my responsibility, you know how hard I work and how many emails I send, many of you. I would fix it if I could. I really would. Like I would fix my own thing, immediately. The point is that we all have to do this thing, and it hurts. It's a stretch. It's not what thousands of years of inertia want us to do. They want me to take it personally. They want you to take it personally. That's what the inertia wants you to do. But what if you refused to? How much suffering could you avoid if you were single pointed on the fact that they were your divine teacher? Don't pretend that you know what's really going on, because when you look for person that disappointed me, when you look for the person that hurt me, and you try to find the essence of person who hurts inside them, you can't ever find it. You can't ever find it. So why do you think you know what's going on? How do you know they're not your teacher? You can't prove it. You can't. And according to Danielle Karuna's Instagram teaching, it probably is those that are closest to you who are trying to wake you up. And you just can't see it. You're blind. What if you weren't? Okay, highest school. Are you okay? This is like the last part, and then maybe we'll end a little bit early. Highest school. This is us. Accepted and taught by Geshe Michael Roach. Accepted and taught by Buddha Nagarjuna. Accepted and taught by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. All of the tantric schools utilize this level of emptiness to practice. I'm repeating the words of my teachers, and I'm only repeating them because I think it will be useful for you, and because I have immense faith in the fact that they know what to say. You can't do any higher teachings than this if you don't understand number 6. Impermanence won't create an angel. You have to be absolutely certain that nothing exists independent of the karma that you are forced to perceive. It's impossible that a thing would exist independent of your own karmas. The Gakcha is something that exists independent of my karma. A hurtful partner, a hurtful situation, a shitty job, a president, a social structure, okay? All of those things, a planet, a solar system, the laws of gravity, my death, my mortality, whether or not the beings around me seem to be teachers or not. All of those things are forced on us by a past karma. This is not a psychological experience. This is something that's forced on us by the things that we've thought, said, and done in the past. A dog is forced to see a chew toy when you hold up this thing. They're forced to see a chew toy. And then they look down and they're forced to see a paw. A human is forced to see an okay pen. And then the human looks down and sees an arm. What does a Buddha see? If we practice this school, if we really apply it, then we will inevitably, if we practice well, a Buddha is forced to see this as something extremely beautiful, like Manjushri would be forced to see it as the wisdom sword. And then they would look down and then they would see a very different body. they would experience a very different mind. And that's what makes them a Buddha. Buddhas are forced by their own minds to see paradise right here. Like, this is okay. What I'm seeing is okay. It's human. The same emptiness that forces me, that allows for me to be forced, rather, to see this world the way that it is, and the dog to be forced to chew on this thing, is the same emptiness that allows a Buddha to see themselves as a Buddha. It's like, I think it was Geshe Chikawa that was praying when he was dying to see hell. Like, I want to go, and doesn't matter, like, fine, you don't believe in hell, that's fine, but I don't really care to prove it to you right now. I think that if you're studying karma and emptiness, you could sort of see how there would be a hell realm that you're forced to experience. But if it doesn't click, it doesn't click. And he's praying as he's dying, may I please go to the worst place to liberate those beings. Like, please, 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 please. I'm trying to go, I'm trying to go, I'm trying to go. And he's forced against his will to see paradise. Like, you can't choose to be not blissed out. I mean, not that you'd want to, but that's the whole thing. So it's deeper than saying, oh, my mind is putting a label on this suggestive object. Like, it has ink in it, it has a cylinder, you can write with it. So it makes sense that I would say pen. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. And this allows us to not die. Because it says there's no hardness to this self-existently. There's no plasticness to this self-existently. There's no solidness to this self-existently. There's no writingness, all the way down to raw data, remember? How do you find the molecule or the atom in the atom? Where's the atom in the atom? It's in the center of the atom? Where do you find atom in atom? In the center? Yeah, that seems right. Well, where in the center? The center of the center? Top of the center? Bottom of the center? Where in the center of the atom is the atom? Then if you say, oh, I came up empty, which is the natural outcome of this meditation, you get to emptiness. There's no nature to this pen. There's no nature to the raw data of this pen. There's no nature to the solidness. There's no nature to the hardness. There's no nature to the pen. Okay. Does that mean there's no pen? No, of course there's a pen. Look, writing with it, clicking it. This is really a pen. It exists that way. The emptiness allows it to exist this way. Otherwise, if chew toy was the thing, we would all be forced to see chew toys. Okay, I have a few more notes on this. The study of karma then becomes vital. If it's true that my karma, my projections are creating atom, hardness, solidness, penness, good pen, bad pen, pen that lasts, pen that doesn't last. If that's true, then I want to be really effing sure to understand how my karma works, how to create it, how to change it, right? If I'm bringing 100% to this, if I'm forced by my past thoughts, words, and actions to bring 100% to this, not 50-50, 100, then I have to get really clear on which thoughts, words, and actions create the thing that I want to see. And we're all doing pretty good. Pen is better than chew toy in many respects, right? We're doing pretty good. Okay, there's another teaching that I will just repeat almost verbatim. But you know, once the dog realizes that this is a pen, if they can, you see, try to follow this if it makes sense. I know it's not a perfect analogy, but once they realize that this is a pen, the karma shifts. They won't go back to doing a chew toy. They want to do pen. In the same way, once we realize that this is Manjushri's wisdom sword, like that's so much better than stupid pen, right? Then I'll want to. Once I see wisdom sword, oh, I can just slash ignorance. That's pretty cool. I don't want to use this as a pen anymore. I want to use it as a wisdom sword. Okay, so how many times, this is the teaching. This is it. This is the big aha moment. And I know that many of you have heard this teaching so many times. So, but you need like 6,000 hours or something in order to finally understand it. This is the key. This is the big reveal. And it's just a matter of utilizing it for what it is. There's no death in death. There's no death in death. There's no aging in aging. There's no beauty in beauty. There's no love in love. You can create it using your karma. You can change it using your karma. And you're already doing it. You just haven't gotten control of the machine. The machine's still doing the thing, but you're not behind it, running it. Not like Wizard of Oz, but planting future experiences with intention using your body, speech, and mind, because you bring 100% to your reality, according to Lord Buddha, according to Nagarjuna, and according to other realized beings who've taught this level of emptiness. So, okay, how many times are you going to hear this teaching and continue to wake up depressed before you change something? How many times are you going to get broken up with before you apply this teaching and change the way that it appears? Are you going to wait for the cancer to happen to you? Or are you going to change it now? Are you going to wait for your friends to die and you're the last one, then you're sad enough to do it? Like when? And when Geshe-la taught this, he said, if you're too lazy to use this to become a Buddha, don't complain to me. This is all you need to know. This is the answer. Now you have to do the work. And then you say to someone like Geshe Michael or Hector, well, okay, I want to do that. It seems reasonable. What do I do then? What do I do? Okay, the emptiness thing seems right. I haven't perceived it directly yet, but when you put me through the 6 flavors of emptiness, this one makes sense. And the answer is very simple. Okay, meditate every day. Habituate your mind to understand this deepest level of reality. Remember, it's so hard for us to even work with the first one. It's so hard for us to even remember impermanence and not be blown out of the water when things changed. Oh, Buddhism was so great. Many of you have been around for a little while now. When you first meet Buddhism, it's like when you first start dating somebody. It's amazing. It's sexy. Like Sydney said. Sydney, stick around for a few years and see if you still see me that way. Okay? Sarah's like, yeah, dude. And it's like when you first meet Buddhism, you get in love. And because we're being force-fed self-existence by our own senses, including our consciousness, we think that the love comes from Buddhism. Then we want to sit next to Buddhism all the time. And if I'm just close to Buddhism, then I'll feel good. It's not true. You'll see. Sorry. Probably, unless your karma is like Anthony, then you are going to have that situation where all of a sudden it's like you're flicking the lighter and the flame's not turning on and you're like, what the fuck? You have to generate your own path out. It's not just coming and sitting and listening to Rachel. That's not the path out. You have to create it. How? Meditate. Meditate on emptiness. Do your compassion meditation. Love and wisdom. This is how you create the path, okay? So you have to meditate. You have to take vows and keep vows. Sorry if that's culty. I don't care if you take vows. But if you want to do it this way, you have to take vows. And then once you take your vows, you have to keep them really well. I don't care if you take vows. I don't care if you're Buddhist. But if you want to try it this way, you should take vows. And you should only take them when you're ready, and then keep the promise extremely well. Become a master vow keeper and keep your vows extremely pristine, because your vows are just karmas. It's just an excuse to plant really good karma. And things will change actually very quickly. And often I think we experience this in the negative, like, oh no, I messed up. And then like, but actually, if you come at this with a very pure heart and a very like willingness, and I know many of you have this, like when you call me and you email me, and when you reach out to other teachers of Three Jewels as well, you have a very pure intention. It's like very sweet and honest, and it's very clean and sweet. Stick with that, keep feeding it. Do your practice. If you have a teacher, you have to take care of your teacher. If you have a teacher that you see as very amazing, like I'm not talking about myself, I have to do this with my teacher. And I see when I've been lazy in the past at taking care of my Lama, I see when they start to transform into like normal, and then I have to like go back, remember, they come from you, they come from you. But the path works, and many beings have used this path to get out. That's like the assurance, is that many people have utilized this path to get free. Okay, so this is like easy questions. Oh, sorry, we went over. I was on a roll. I already answered this, okay? Can we wish things to be different? No, you can't. You already wished it to be different. You know that doesn't work. So being ethical doesn't matter. I can do crazy tantric stuff. Sorry, not tantra if it's not ethical. Sorry. Wish it was. I wish the crazy stuff was the good stuff. Actually, the good stuff is the crazy stuff. Being ethical is extremely important if you want a good life. And you will be tested. And there's no God testing you, it's your own karma.
Can I interrupt a little bit?
Yeah, who is that?
Chloe.
Oh, hey, Chloe.
Hi. Can you like talk about the first point with the with like the positive thinking? Like I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, positive thinking is really important. It's very functional, but you can't just wish that things would be different and then they'll change. So there's a practice of positive thinking in Buddhism. It's called Tartuk. And you review all the good things that you've done and feel joy about them. And that like feeds your karmas. When you feel good about something, you're re-experiencing the karma, you're bringing it into your mind again. It's like multiplying the future experiences that you'll get. Thinking positively is an extremely powerful practice. It's like the low jump. See everyone as your teacher, find the gold, be pronoid, not paranoid. Think that everyone's out to help you, right? But it doesn't mean that in the moment that I'm thinking that it will change, or that just wishing something will make it happen. There's got to be some acknowledgement of how things function. Karma and emptiness. I have to plant the reality that I want to experience. Okay, last thing. Why? I mean, we already went over this. Why does the highest presentation of emptiness matter so much? Why is Geshe Michael making such a big deal of Majjhimika Prasangika? I mean, look around. It's not a popular teaching. I know. I research what's going on in wellness. This is no one screaming this from the rooftops, because it's very difficult, but it's essential. It's essential to stop the death process in the way that it appears. The other views are actually not emptiness. There's something else. I've said it a million times. You get what I'm saying. This is the most important presentation, because it allows you to actually cut to the root of what's going on, not just being okay when the world falls apart, but destroying the world that falls apart. Okay. Is the Heart Sutra figurative or literal? It's literal. And then this is the point that I'll leave you with, which is like one of my most favorite yoga teachings. It's in one of the texts. If Earl's around, he knows it, or maybe he doesn't, or whatever. I think Geshe Michael taught this in one of his teachings on the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, or one of those texts. And like the first line is that deathless sages roamed the earth unnoticed. That's the first line in one of the ancient yogic texts. And it's true. That's literal teaching. It is true that there are people who have defeated mortality, and they look like you. You can't tell that they're any different, but they are. You can't tell from just looking at their face. Sorry. Why can't you tell? Why haven't you met them? If they exist, how come I haven't met them? The answer is you don't have the karma yet to see a deathless being. Once you have the karma, they'll be everywhere. Once you have the karma, you will be in a situation just like any other shitty situation that you've ever been in, and you'll be yelling at the person and they'll be yelling at you. And then something weird will happen, and they'll look at you a certain way, and there will be a moment in your mind that says, was that an angel? Who's talking to me through that face? What's happening? And then you'll fall right back into, but then you did this and I did that, and you did this and I did that. And then those moments if you have the karma, they have to occur. You'll be forced to, and it won't be delusional, even though you might convince yourself that you're delusional after. It will really be true that beings will reach out to you through people that you think you already know. And they'll say something like, oh yeah, I know you have been struggling that for a really long time. Have you thought of this? And it will be real for you that there'll be a Buddha. And then the same thing will start to happen to you, looking at yourself. That's the teaching. Become a Buddha is the practice. Take vows, serve others, meditate. Meditate with Sarah. And let's dedicate. Okay, who wants to dedicate?
I can do it. Okay. Sashi Puki Jushing Metok Tram Vira Lingshin Yande Gimpani Sangye Shingdu Mikte Ulwargi Jokun Namdak Shinla Chupasho Idam Guru Ratnamandalakan Niryatayami Kewa Di Keo Kun Sunam Yeshe Tok Tok Shing Sunam Yeshe Lejung Wei Dampa Kuni Topashu.
Will Sarah continue to do the meditations on Monday after this class?
She's going to do one this coming Monday, and then the plan was to do a short break between this class and when Supriya begins. So I think it'll just be like a week or two.